when he was young, he could see that his mother loved his younger brother more than him.
Yeah.
And he said, what do I have to do to get her love? Well, I need to become a good athlete.
Yeah.
I need to develop social graces. And there was some other thing,
Yeah.
but I forget what that was. So he was getting praise from the other guy in the group for the social graces
Yeah.
that he developed to please his mom.
Yeah.
And he didn't want that praise for his cultivated self. He wanted praise for his actual self.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a client, and she is hyper successful and a workaholic, and she's kind of risen to the top of the corporate world and will climb one mountain and then get bored and go somewhere else and climb another mountain, and it doesn't really fulfill her. She, as we unpacked it, she told me, my dad, these weren't exactly the words she used, but she said, my dad was neglectful, but he would come to all my sporting events. And if I won, he would show me love. And if I lost, he'd give me nothing, kind of thing. And so it's something like that,
Yeah.
I think. And it's kind of, it seems, it's not cliche, but how much of this stuff is just kind of rooted in the love we get or don't get from mommy or daddy.
Mm-hmm.
So if she's a winner, I'm lovable. If I'm not, I won't get love,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And then there she goes, and she becomes a high achiever, and everyone praises her for,
So why is she coming to you?
because she's miserable.
She cops to that.
Oh yeah, yeah. She's very blunt and very, and it plays out in her love life. She has a very difficult time saying no to men, and she will become whatever she thinks they want. And then so what she attracts is men who want a woman who will become whatever they want. And then they walk all over her, and she just stays in that pattern and doesn't find love, doesn't find fulfillment or anything like that. What are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking about the opposite. I was thinking about men who present themselves to the woman like, I have no needs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need, honey? What do you need, sweetheart?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what your troubles.
Yeah.
I'll be your hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's all they're repressing their own needs.
Yeah.
And then they resent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and it's funny because I had this, it came up, we talked about it, and then I started seeing it in clients I was working with, or they started talking about it. Stoicism, or this romanticization of Stoicism, the male kind of stoic man who doesn't react or doesn't need anything, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of men I'm working with right now who have started calling bullshit on themselves and going, maybe they don't use those words, but going, maybe I do need something,
Mm-hmm.
And so at first it's kind of, they tell themselves it's for her.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to be the hero, or
Yeah.
I'm going to push my needs down to tend to hers. But then, like you're saying, resentment starts to show up, and then they come to therapy, and they kind of have to go into that and go, maybe I'm not as stoic as I thought I was.
And maybe I'm vulnerable.
You were saying something about men and boys earlier, or this men and boys club, or what was
There's
that?
a committee or a ministry set up for men and boys. It's a federal initiative.
Yeah.
Like there's a acknowledgement that men and boys are in trouble.
Yeah.
So they're looking for input, and I think men and boys are in trouble right now.
How so?
Say last night I was watching a movie on Netflix called Lydia Poet. She's the first Italian woman lawyer. So you're seeing the whole sexist thing being played out on screen.
Yeah.
It's set in the 19th century, but it's portraying the sensibility that's in our culture now.
Okay.
That men are dolts and men are egotistical men are narcissistic, and this bright young pretty thing is going to set them straight.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of the movie.
Yeah.
There's another movie called Enola Holmes. It's Sherlock's younger sister.
Okay.
And she starts working with him, and she solves the cases, and he takes the credit.
Okay.
It's the same thing with Lydia Poet. She's working with her older brother, who's a arrogant prick.
Yeah.
And she's the smart one, and she figures things out, but she can't get credit because they won't give her credit because she's a woman.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of culture we're living in right now. And I think you probably know more about it than I do because I'm older and I'm not in that scene anymore. But what I read in the newspapers is that young men are afraid of getting into the fray. They're hiding out. They're playing video games.
Yeah, I think young men are terrified of women, I would say. I think young men don't know what they bring to the table. You know, I think I'm just speaking hypothetic or theoretically because I don't know what it was like back in the day when you were coming up. But I imagine in a culture where the man was the provider, and that's just the norm, it was very clear what the man brought to the table or where he got his sense of masculinity. Or if there's a war and the man goes off to battle, I think it's very clear in black and white where a man establishes himself in that kind of male presence. And what I see right now is a bunch of young men who, in relating to women, don't really know what it is they bring to the table or where they slot in the woman's life kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think women don't need men in the way they used to, or how I imagine they used to. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that? Or
I'm not sure, like when I remember the 60s, the late 60s, I'd be driving around Vancouver, early 70s, and there'd be draft dodgers from the States hitchhiking, and I'd pick them up, talk to them. And I met some draft dodgers in London when I was in London. So I was in London in 69 and then back here in 70. And what I saw in these draft dodgers is incredible intelligence, incredible moral courage. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were the vanishing breed of man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see those kind of men anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a huge generalization, but how would you describe the men, youngish men, not talking 18-year-olds, but, that you work with? Kind of put some words to describe them.
I'm not working with that many young men, but what I do see is that us men have dependency needs just like every organism does.
Yeah.
Everybody has dependency needs. Men deny their dependency needs, but they'll say, I'll make one exception. I'll allow myself to be dependent on my girlfriend or my wife. I'll do that. And then they sort of start to feel like a hostage to their dependency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on bended knee and apologetic all the time. What I used to see when I was working with younger men is these incredible romantics. They would fall so heavily in love and they're buying roses every weekend and sweeping the woman off their feet. And then 3 to 6 months later, they would turn into a monster because they felt so insecure. What if she looks at another guy? Is that the beginning of the end? And they would start trying to control her. I was thinking about this earlier today. I have this woman I'm working with. She's a professional, and we've been dealing with some of the professional issues she's got to deal with. She's finally got to the point where she trusts me enough to talk about more vulnerable things and her relationship with her husband. And her husband, who also sounds like a progressive good guy, is always suspicious that she's cheating on him.
Okay.
And she's not cheating on him. I can see that she's not interested in cheating on him. But what it ends up doing is she's feeling more and more claustrophobic. Because he say, what did you do last night? Or who did you talk to? And what did... He's doing that. And even though he hates himself for behaving that way, he can't stop himself from asking her these probing questions.
So it's like a neediness in him or something like that, or?
He's afraid of losing her.
Okay. And so, go ahead.
And the way he gives form to his insecurity is, oh, she must be cheating on me.
Yeah.
She's not cheating on him, but he's operating in a way that will lose her.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy or something.
It's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
But that's interesting because you're saying there's the fear there. The fear just is. Why the fear's there? That's for him and his therapist to figure out.
It's because he's dependent.
Okay.
And men think that it's possible to be a Stoic.
Mm-hmm.
They really think that we can arrive at this place where we're the only creature on the planet that isn't dependent on anything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I told you about that podcast I did last week where I filmed the 24-year-old guy that you had met. Who had a really traumatic event happen as a kid, and his dad committed suicide when he was 10. And he was incredible. He was open, he was vulnerable, but you could see in doing that his kind of inner world. He basically said, I don't need anyone. I don't rely on anyone. And he was talking about the stress he felt and his girlfriend's reliance on him. And I made some offhand comment where I said, so it stresses you out, your girlfriend relies on you. And I said, but you rely on her too. And he went, no, I don't, and I didn't prod or anything like that. I was a little taken back by it. His unwillingness to acknowledge that in any way or any form he relies on his girlfriend. So I don't know, that's what was going on in my mind.
I remember a roommate I had a long time ago, and he said, my mother always told me, always fall in love with somebody who loves you more than you love them.
Oh, do you think that's good advice or terrible advice?
I don't think it's good advice.
Yeah, why?
But it's sort of like saying, I want to fall in love with somebody who's more needy than me.
Yeah.
And then I'll be in control.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, last time we did a podcast, it was all about loneliness. And then I ironically fell in love shortly after. And I don't feel lonely anymore. But it's interesting because a lot of my thought and the stuff I talk about online and the podcast had been about that, about relationships not working out and that kind of thing. And now I'm having this experience of a relationship working out. But what I'm experiencing in real time is just how vulnerable you are when you love someone. I want to get your thoughts on this, but it's kind of like if you truly love someone, you kind of automatically give them power.
This one woman I was counseling, she said at the beginning of her relationships, her relationship with this one guy, they would be being affectionate with each other, maybe on the verge of sex, something like sex. She says, I feel like I'm melting.
Yeah.
And that was the honeymoon period.
Yeah.
And then later she was combative with him.
Yeah.
And I said, when you melted, what you did is you gave up the form that you used to feel safe in the world. You gave that up because you wanted intimacy with another person.
Yeah.
And this form that you've got would prevent intimacy with another person. You'd be protected, you'd be safe, but you would be alone.
Yeah.
You would be alone.
I have had
just
one. Yeah, you keep going.
So you when you melt, you drop those things.
Yeah.
So that something that your boyfriend could have said to you would wound you far more than the grocery store clerk saying exactly the same thing to you.
Yeah.
It wouldn't hurt you at all because you've dropped your protection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier you were you're saying, paraphrasing, but you're saying, I'm too old, or I'm not in the game anymore. You would know more, Aaron, about. So I just had
Young
a
people.
I just had a thought about young people. I don't know if you've heard this term or not, but situationships. Do you know what that is?
I think I've heard the phrase recently.
And it's interesting to me that you don't know exactly what that is, because people my age, I'm not. It's not a criticism of you, but it shows the age gap, or the culture gap, right?
Yeah.
Or the generation gap.
Yeah.
So I'd say a kind of defining characteristic of millennials and Gen Z are situationships. A situationship is when you meet someone, you get some feelings, you have some sex, you go on some dates, you hang out, but you just keep it at that. You're not boyfriend and girlfriend. You don't meet the parents. You don't commit. You kind of commit, but you don't. So it's kind of like you keep it in this zone in which you're getting some of your needs met, but you don't care enough, or you're not committed enough to get crushed or to get hurt or something like that. What do you think of that?
I find it hard to believe, personally. I find it hard to believe that you can have sex with somebody without connecting with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's, well, you just said for you, but do you think that's easier for men than it is for women? Or do you think men are just kind of lying to themselves when they go around sleeping around and saying, I don't care?
So I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable
Go
here.
for it.
When I worked at the Maples, which was a treatment facility, they would bring in people, speakers, and they brought in this one speaker who was going to talk about sex, about it. And the way she talked about it was like all biology.
Yeah.
It was, the sperm meets the egg, that kind of stuff. None of the awesomeness, none of the mystery, because a man is entering a woman.
Yeah.
What could be more mysterious? What could be more intimate? What could be more mind-blowing than that?
Yeah.
I don't know what could be more mind-blowing than that. So this notion of situationships, to me, it's sort of like, the old joke about Chinese food. You eat Chinese food and you're hungry a half an hour later.
That's right.
It's
interesting we're talking about this, because I've been thinking about this lately with one client in particular that I'm working with, who's she's probably early 40s, a woman going through divorce, and she's kind of re-examining her views, feelings, and relationship to sex. And she's realizing how she used sex in her marriage to try and reestablish a connection. Or her marriage was falling apart, crumbling, and sex was the most convenient thing, or the thing she could use to kind of pull him back, if that makes sense. So I just had some thoughts. I think a lot of times sex isn't about sex.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I haven't thought it through more than that little phrase I just said right there, but maybe you could.
In that case, it was an attempt to reestablish connection. That's what she was doing. And sex was not the end, it was the means.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
And I have a friend, and she told me a story once. She was on a second or third date with a guy, and she had him over, and she felt that he was a bit out of her league. So she felt kind of insecure around him, and they were in her apartment, and it was awkward. They weren't clicking. The conversation. So she started to feel like, oh, I'm losing this guy, or this guy doesn't like me or something. And so she made a move and had sex with him. I thought that was quite fascinating. And she's older now, reflecting on this behavior, but I'm not connecting with this man, or I feel inferior or something like that. Well, he's not going to turn this down. Yeah. So, yeah.
What it reminds me of, when I used to play chess, I was never a good chess player. I was too nervous to be a good chess player back then.
It surprises me you weren't a good chess player.
I could be.
Okay.
I was too anxious.
Yeah.
And so I play with my queen almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of playing with the pawns.
I don't know why I'm laughing. There's some metaphor there or
There
something.
is a
Yeah.
metaphor there. Like this girl is losing this guy.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to play with the pawns.
Yeah.
So she pulls out her queen and says, let's fuck.
So maybe, did I interrupt you?
No.
Maybe that's the difference in generation, or kind of what we're talking about.
I'm curious.
We were talking the other day, you were saying people my age are in a hurry or something like that.
Are in a hurry.
Yeah, or they seem to be in a rush or something like that. Maybe love and courtship and dating and sex and these things were more of a leisurely or natural or something.
Organic, more like organic.
Yeah, and
like that story I was telling you about the guy who I advised him to go to a prostitute.
Yeah.
Before I advised him that, I said, take a night school course.
Take a what?
A night school course.
Oh, yeah.
Take a course, something you're interested in.
Yeah.
And you go to that course, you'll meet people, and you're not there to date them. They're not there to date you.
Yeah.
You're there to take up a photography course.
Yeah.
But they watch you, and they listen to how you comment on things, and something can build. That's playing with the pawns.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't want to play with the pawns, so I said, well, maybe you should go to a prostitute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that.
Hmm?
I don't know what to say to that.
You told me that when we talked on the phone on Monday.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And I like that.
Yeah.
I like it that I think I referred to Carl Whitaker,
Yeah.
who said that when he doesn't know what to say, he tries his impotent ploy. And then when that doesn't work, then he drops the ploy part.
Yeah. So I had one of those moments there, yeah. I'll fill the space with something. I like that chess metaphor, or the queen. I don't know why. It'll take me a while to understand why that resonated so much, or why really early on, this might have been when I just started therapy or was still in school and you were my teacher, but you recommended a book called Love and Will by Rollo May.
Yeah.
And there's a story, and he talked a lot about sex in that book, and love and eros, and these different forms of love or intimacy and connection. And he was talking about, he said young men would come into his office and say, "Doc, I can't get an erection." And he would say, "Good." And I don't know if I understand what he meant by that, but there's something that seems profound about that. Or I know I'm just putting you on the spot here, but what do you think he meant by that? Or why do you say good?
I have a friend who made that complaint to me. He was married and he had an affair and he couldn't get an erection. And I thought, your body is telling you that you really don't believe in what you're doing right now. Your body is wiser than your mind.
Yeah. So that's giving me some clarity. So these young men come into Rollo May's office, and their mind is operating under the assumption I should fuck as many women as possible. I should stick my dick in every chance I get, kind of thing. But the reality is they don't want to do that, or they've outgrown that, or something like that. So the operating system is the same, the psychology is the same, but something in them's changed.
Yes.
All of a sudden they can't get an erection, and he is saying good to try and align them with their reality, or something like that.
Accept their reality.
Yeah.
The last time we did a podcast, you used the word fuck that time. And I remember looking at the comments section, and somebody was complaining. I was right with you until you used the word fuck. So, were you aware of that?
I remember reading that, and I remember you read it and made a comment to me, and I thought it was interesting. You seemed more bothered by it than I did, or not bothered by it.
I don't want to turn people off by using that language.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because I think the ideas that we're discussing are really important.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything to interfere with
fair enough.
Yeah, what we're talking about.
I think when I use that word, and Rollo May would use that word in the book at times. He would talk about eros, but he would also to use the word, I guess, when we use it. But I think it's, we'll go back to the situationship example.
Yeah.
I think that's where that word applies. And so I think even you interjecting to say, hey, let's not use that language, shows that you have more of a respect for sex or something like that than perhaps I do. And I don't think I'm criticizing myself, or because when I use that word, I don't go, oh, that's a bad word to use or something like that. If that
Whereas I had an immediate reaction to it.
Yeah.
Even though I was the first one to use that word today.
I don't remember, but
I did. And I remember feeling like, ooh, I'm not sure I want to use that.
So in a situationship, you're not making love. You're not experiencing intimacy. You're kind of playing the game or going through the motions, and then you're...
Okay, there's something coming from the back of my mind right now.
Yeah.
So I really liked what you said about this client who's got this operating system, this way of him relating to a potential partner, and like a situationship.
Yeah.
Have as many sexual partners as possible, and you win the game.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then something had changed in him, in his being, but he still had the same script.
Yes.
So when he went to enact the script, he couldn't enact it because his being wasn't part of it anymore.
So anyways, this client, he was a sex addict. Or no, he was a recovering alcoholic. And then he got sober, and then he got addicted to women. And dating women and as much sex as possible and these sorts of things. And he had what he called an office girlfriend. And this woman who he flirted with every day, and they were friends. They were both in a relationship, and they hadn't slept together. But every day there was kind of that chemistry, that flirtiness, that sort of thing. And then just by happenstance, they both broke up at the same time. And so he went, oh, this is amazing. Well, okay, now we're going to jump into... And he started plotting, making his move, how he's going to take it to the next step. And then he kind of had an epiphany. And he realized, the best part of my day is flirting with this woman.
Yeah, I'm going to lose that.
I might lose that. Or if I jump into bed with her, we might not be office boyfriend and girl. We might lose that fun, flirtatious kind of energy sort of thing. And so as we talked through, we realized the relationship he had with her was enough. It was exactly what he wanted. And actually turning it sexual would risk losing that. And it was the first time in his life he said that he was relating to a woman in a way in which the end goal wasn't to get sex out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want you to say in response, but...
Well, I was thinking about when you get together with another mystery, which we all are. We're all mysteries to each other. And you get involved with a potential partner, and you're moving towards this mystery. And it's full of ambiguity. Where is this going? I don't know. Am I making the right moves? Is she making the right moves? Is he making the right moves?
Yeah.
All that ambiguity. Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Let's go play with the queen rather than with the pawns.
Yeah.
And then what I used to say to people, you have to hang out with somebody for a little while to build trust. You need to have a flat tire. You go on a date and you have a flat tire. And how did the two of you handle the flat tire?
Yeah.
You went to the restaurant and they served the food cold, and how did you handle that? You go through a few of those crises, then your relationship is strong enough to hold the forces that are released when you make love.
Yeah. Yes, it's like there's a foundation in place.
There's a foundation for it.
If you jump, you go for a drink, you have one date or two date, then you get naked and you do this incredibly vulnerable, intimate thing.
Yes.
and okay, cool, we've connected and we've enjoyed this, pleasurable experience, but there's no foundation that's been made. So as soon as there's a fight or as soon as something goes wrong, it's like it's not standing on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a thought when you were talking. I thought people my age are addicted to dating.
Addicted to dating.
To dating. Yeah. Addicted's a strong word. But
But
that phrase just popped up in
you're
my...
getting something. You're getting at
well,
something.
we're talking about situationships, and you were talking about people your age seem to have more respect or take love seriously, more seriously. And
they knew they were playing with dynamite. We knew we were playing with dynamite.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
What's that?
What do you mean by that?
That there, when two mysteries join each other like that, I think these very powerful forces are released in each of them, and that they don't have any idea how to handle those forces, the dependency, the vulnerability, all that stuff, and there's no foundation. You haven't been tested in any way.
Yeah.
So it just blows apart.
And so...
I can't stand to be with you. I've made love with you, and now I don't want to see you. Yeah.
So I think what's happened for my generation is dating apps have swooped in, and it's kind of like oversaturated the market, or I don't know if I used that term right. Like this high achieving woman that I was referencing earlier, she goes on 2 or 3 dates a week. Right? And so I forget what that was in response to, but
I've got something I want to talk about. First of all, I'll talk about that woman a little bit. When I used to go to when you remember video stores, are you old?
Oh, yeah.
So I go into the video store and I'd be looking around for a video, and I'd be watching a couple, and a woman says to the husband, well, "What do you want? What do you want?" "Well, I wouldn't mind watching Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood. What do you want?" She goes blank. Yeah. Clint Eastwood's fine. What I thought I saw happening is once the man expressed his desire, a veil dropped over the woman's consciousness, and she didn't know what she desired anymore.
Okay.
It's sort of like what we were talking about earlier when the man says, "I have no needs. I'll take care of you, sweetheart." And he really believes it, that he doesn't have any needs.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, they're building up behind the dam, and one day they just burst through, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is I think our egos are active in agency and power and mastery, all that stuff. And then there's this other zone that you can go into, which this guy I've been talking to lately calls passivity.
Okay.
Where you just go passive, you suspend your will. It's sort of like putting your clutch in a car. There's no engine driving you anymore.
Okay.
So say if you're an ambitious person that's driving you all the time,
Yeah.
and you put the clutch in, that drive is gone suddenly.
Yeah.
And much to your surprise, there's a whole bunch of shit waiting for you.
Okay.
Shit maybe is the wrong word. Stuff that you haven't been attending to, haven't been paying attention to.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there waiting for you. And you get quiet, and it starts to come towards you.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience?
I've had that experience, and again, I think in this woman that I keep referencing, that's what's happening to her. She's in between jobs right now.
This high-powered woman?
Yeah. She's switching over to a bigger, more impressive company, but there's a little bit of a gap, and all of a sudden, all her issues with her father are coming to the surface, and she's bawling her eyes out.
She's got space for that.
Yeah,
to come
exactly.
forward.
So she's not achieving or doing, or all of a sudden she takes some time off. And I won't get into her life story, but there's some pain, huge amounts of pain there with her dad. And all of a sudden that's bursting through in that space, kind of thing. Yeah. I think that's what happened with this young man I did a recorded session with. is he actually sat down and connected with himself, or talked about himself, or talked about his dad killing himself. And he was living in a story that I'm not an emotional person, or that's in the past. There's no point talking about. And it's not even like it was a lie. It was a lie, but it kind of turned out. What am I trying to say?
He's only living on one level.
Yeah. He's not lying in the sense of where he's knows he's saying things that aren't true. That is his experience, his day-to-day experience. Then he comes to therapy, and all of a sudden,
there's something else going.
There's a well of sadness here. As soon as I'm having a flashback, and now my eyes are watering, my throat's dry, and things like that.
So as soon as our ego gets out of the way, say, you're listening to this person, this young man, you're giving him your attention.
Yeah.
And he can't help but this deeper part of him sees you, sees that you're paying attention, and it wants to come forth.
Yeah.
Involuntarily.
That's literally what happened in our session.
Yeah.
I think I told you before we started recording.
Yeah.
About an hour into the podcast/therapy session, he spontaneously told me the most vulnerable thing. And he said, he said something like, I can't believe I told you that. I hadn't told anyone. I wasn't expecting to tell anyone. And then 5 minutes later, he went, you know what? I think I secretly wanted to tell you that. I thought that was so interesting.
So the two levels were meeting.
Yes, exactly.
The stoical guy
Yeah.
was introduced to the guy who missed his dad, who would like to have had a dad, and maybe you were a bit of a dad.
There
in
was
that context.
Yeah, but it was so interesting. Yeah, that's exactly, the two levels were meeting. The first part wasn't a lie. He didn't, he wasn't planning on telling it. He didn't want to. He didn't want to go there. And yet, paradoxically, something in him secretly wanted to be seen. I stole one of your lines in that podcast I did with him. You said something the last time we spoke. You said, we all want to be seen, and we all want to be invisible. I thought that was very profound, or that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, we all want to be seen, and we're terrified of being seen, kind of thing. And that's the love thing, you said, okay, I want to be seen, so I'm going to show myself. And then, oh my God, I'm flawed, and she's going to reject me because I'm not perfect like I was pretending. Yeah.
But I think what I think situationships do, or they let people kind of dance around the fringes of love. So they get some of their needs met, and these kind of half-hearted interactions, but they get old fast. And then
they seem very tired of it.
Yeah.
That's when I talk to them, they seem like it's a merry-go-round or something.
I think you have to go find a different situationship to get another boost, right? Because it's not actually what the person wants. So they do this half-hearted kind of thing, and then it falls flat every time because it's not truly what they want. And then you got to go find the next person, get a little boost, someone new, falls flat, you do it again, kind of thing. And then eventually people my age, I think, are just check out. And
that's
they just,
what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So real apathy or nihilism.
Lethargy.
Yeah. People around 30, mid 30s, early 30s, late 20s seem very tired of dating, very hopeless.
Yeah. Apathy is a good word.
Yeah. But
go ahead.
I was going to say, it's interesting. And I was there myself to some degree, but what I'm about to say, I don't think applied to me, but I see a lot with clients is they reach that apathetic state, and then what their mind does is look externally and blame all men, or all the women in Vancouver are da 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 da. So they come up with the mind comes up with an external reason, and they don't look
Yeah.
at their own contributions.
Yeah.
Like there's a quote I love by Rumi. He says, "Your task is not to seek love. Your task is to discover all the barriers within yourself you've built
Mm.
against it."
Mm-hmm.
And I love that quote. And I think therapy is really cool when someone's struggling with love or relationships and they're very focused on the external, and then they start to look internally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, what I was saying to my daughter earlier today, I think that back to the two different dimensions that
Yeah.
the guy you were talking about, I'd say on we never grow old on one level. We're always 7 years old, or we always have that innocent self there. And say when we were 2 years old, the world did happen to us. You made me
Yeah.
cry. And it was true. What the little baby is saying, Mommy made me cry because she wasn't there for me. That's true.
Yeah.
And then we take that with us as we grow older and older and older. We still have that same first reaction, which is it's coming from outside.
Yeah.
I'm not responsible for this. You're responsible for this.
Yeah.
And then if you've done some work, you've done some therapy, you've done some thinking, you said, no, what was my part in that too? And you start to, but I think, when people enter therapy, they think they're going to arrive at this point, well, they'll never be wounded again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's true. You're always going to get wounded. If you're alive, you're going to get wounded. My friend Mahmoud said to me, I've come to the point where I realize that I will hurt other people and I will be hurt by other people.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.